Alright everyone, we are back with another gameplay video, this time for Captain America, Sam Wilson, or as I like to call him, Captain Falcon. So, he's been out for a bit. As I'm sure you've heard, he's got a massive utility kit, but he's probably not the best damage dealer because he's another one of those champions who doesn't crit, and there aren't many, or there aren't multiple rotations in which you can increase his damage. So what I'm going to spend the first part of this clip or this video doing is talking about maybe a few avenues in which to increase his damage with his ideal rotation, at least what I've found to be his ideal rotation. And then near the end, we're going to talk about the utility that's just loaded in his kit. And then possibly talk about the most ideal rotation to maintain the maximum utility from his kit. Alright, so what I found to be an ideal rotation is to build the special 3 and make sure that the opponent has no power before special 3. It's actually not a big deal if he does, but for the sake of this video, we're going to go ahead and do that. Hopefully by the time you get to special 3, you have 5 or more armor up buffs. And then for the sap charges, hopefully you have a decent amount. After the special 3, we're going to want to hit 25 of that passive gray buff that's on the opponent so that we end up power draining them. And the special 3, we're going to get locked on right before. Now Sam doesn't crit. That red rupture number is an instant rupture. It's adjusted by cruelty rating. So that's just his bonus damage for not being able to crit. So we got locked on, we used special 3. Now when we come out, we are going to quickly rush the special 2. And what's really nice about Sam is that after a special 3 and locked on, he's got a special lock. So the opponent cannot use a special attack. So we can in fact go crazy here and not worry about a special attack. When that falls, hopefully at that point, and more than likely, we'll have a power drain on him from building up enough sap, and then we throw the special 2 with the cruelty buff from special 3 still active. So that was the ideal rotation in my opinion that I found with Cap. But there are a few ways to increase that attack or boost that damage during the rotation. One is obviously using boosts, which I did not use in that video. Another is through his Sig Ability here. So you're looking here, when locked on, you're actually going to get an increased attack rating by 1186.01. And the ruptures place through block, but you're not really going to throw that special attack through block, so that's more so a defensive ability mark. But half the benefit of that attack rating is when Cap is at Sig 60. So from Sig 60 to 200, that's where you get the remaining half. So really, if you're going to have him awakened, I'd have him at Sig 60 if you're not going to chase prestige. If you are, then go ahead and take him all the way to 200. He's number 11 at rank 4 for prestige. So that's one way you can increase his attack. Now, the other benefits of his Sig Ability, which help with the aggressive playstyle, especially after special 3, is this well-timed block placing extra sap charges. So in building to special 3, you're going to be doing parries a lot, and you can increase the amount of sap charges you have before going into special 3 so that you can get a power drain on sooner. But what I was finding with the rotations was that getting to special 2 will have about 2 passive power drains on the opponent. So it's very helpful in keeping the defender from ever throwing special 3, and it just allows you to go nuts on them, especially if you're not worried about their special 2 attack. And then the other key kind of maybe just chip damage from Cap is the last line there, where anytime the opponent misses, like there's a failed miss or an ability fails, there's some chip damage to it. And that number, that 889, also has half of its benefit at 60 SIGs. So from 60 to 200, you're going to get the other half. Not as much per sig as 0 to 60, but still every little bit helps, just because it seems like Cap is just going to put a lot of extra red numbers while you're utilizing him for his utility. So the next two clips are going to be that ideal rotation with him at Sig 60 and Sig 200 so that you can take a look at the boosted rupture damage from the increased attack rating while locked on. So mediums were doing about 2,000 rupture damage and light attacks were doing 1,300 rupture damage. And now with Sig 60, we've got about 400 extra on the medium and then about 200 to 300 extra on the light. So this is just at Sig 60. Every little bit's going to count, especially with a champion that doesn't crit. And then when we get to the special 2, there's a bit extra damage on every rupture hit. And then at Sig 200, we've got about 800 extra on the mediums, about 500 extra on the lights. So again, every little bit counts, and then as we're getting to the special 2, the red numbers on the special 2 are also boosted by a few hundred as well. And then the last avenue to really boost his attack is this synergy here with Captain America Infinity War and Captain America World War II. On well-timed blocks, he gains a Fury buff that increases his attack rating by 13%, and it has no duration, but it's capped at 5. If you end up blocking an attack and it's not a well-timed block, the Fury falls off. And then this benefits Cap for the line down there, where it gives him a stagger when you're doing well-timed blocks as well. And Cap usually benefits really well with a tech champion because of the Petrify that he ends up placing from his Sig ability. So this pair I could see very, very useful in questing, maybe even in war, depending on the lanes that Sam Wilson will take and Captain America Infinity War would take along the way. And then just a little clip with the synergy running, the rupture, the instant ruptures here are just so nice. Almost double the amount, maybe even a little bit more. So pretty satisfying synergy. And this is actually not the ideal matchup for this synergy, considering if Winter Soldier throws special 2, I'm going to lose those Furies from blocking bullets. So that's one way to increase the damage. And the last thing I kind of want to talk about is all the utility in his kit. He's got a lot going on for him for the utility game, and I'm pretty sure that's why his damage is not insane or, above average compared to a lot of other champions that have been released or getting released at this current time, not when he was getting released. But the first one is all the utility with an armor up buff. So he gains an armor up, and when he has an armor, just one armor up, he can parry non-contact attacks and he can block unblockable specials from mutants. And the blocking an unblockable special attack does not remove the armor up. So as long as he has one, you think in Path 6 and Section 2 of War, he can just pretty much block all of those fights or all of those special attacks as long as you're blocking if any mutants are placed there. On top of that, each armor up reduces bleed ability accuracy, but it says in his kit from the opponent, I actually tried it against Biohazard, and it actually prevents the bleeds from that as well. And it actually also ends up triggering his Sig ability, where since an ability failed from that armor up preventing bleed, he adds the chip damage into that fight. So some more red numbers. And then for every armor up he has, there's a % chance he can auto block a special attack. So there is a safety net with him. If you manage to fail to dex or something with a special attack, he's just going to go ahead and auto block it. And he has a cool animation with that where his wings come in. And then here, always active, we talked about it. Instead of crit hits, he has instant ruptures. And that damage is modified by critical damage rating, but it's also modified by modified attack. So locked on and boosts affect that number. And then every time he crits, quote unquote, and places that instant rupture, he actually places a sap charge. And when he gets the 25 sap charges, he puts that power drain passive that we talked about earlier that drains 50% of the opponent's power over 15 seconds. So that's the really nice go ham ability after the special 3, since you've got this big crit buff after a special 3 and you're just every hit placing an instant rupture and then preventing the opponent from going to special 3. And then the last bit of utility is his locked on. Now I know a lot of people are not a fan of Falcon's locked on, so that's going to make or break it for people who would want to enjoy Captain Falcon because he's got a locked on mechanic, but he counters miss with the locked on and has a boosted critical rating while locked on, so that helps with the sap charges. But also, every time he prevents miss, he does that little bonus of chip damage from his Sig ability. So just another piece of utility to Sam. And then I think the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this clip. After Sam uses special 2, he actually loses all of his armor ups. So depending on what you brought him for, especially if it's the utility game, you're going to want to keep those armor ups if the ability you're trying to avoid involves the armor ups. So there might be a case where you go nuts and you actually use special 1, which reduces physical damage resistance, and his ruptures are physical damage, so it'll actually boost those rupture numbers. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit subscribe, like, share, and I will catch you guys at the next one.